Network. You're killing me, Smallz.
This is Bucky Brooks of the NFL Network. You're killing me, Smallz.
Hey, this is Chris Tack, president of the 76ers. I just want to say, you're killing me, Smallz.
Hey, this is former Sixer and Tar Heel George Lynch. Smallz, you're killing me.
Hi, this is Kenny Albert. You're killing me, Smallz.
You're killing me, Smallz.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Killin Smallz podcast. I am your host, Mike Small. Today, a couple of special guests. One, our producer, Chris Deibler, Mr. Crockpot on Twitter. And if any of you love to break down the analytics of basketball, especially Sixers basketball, I promise and hope, first of all, that you're following Tiago Scabia. But if you're not, follow him at Tiago PHL. Tiago, thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it. I'm running out of materials now that Doc Rivers got fired, so I gotta come up with a new.
It's funny. I was going to introduce you. I was going to introduce you as Doc Rivers' biggest detractor, but I decided not to. Tiago and I and Chris are also on a Discord channel where we'll watch the games and we'll give our opinions. I swear to God, it doesn't matter if they're up by 40. Tiago's getting on there saying, how can Doc run that action when it's very clear that Maxi's coming down and Beach posted up and Doc, it didn't matter. Why did you hate him so damn much? I know why I hated him, but I want to know your answer.
You don't have 2 hours in the show for me to go through. But as somebody who lived in LA during the Doc Rivers Clippers years, you kind of see it coming, that wave coming before the Philly market picked up on it. It just took a little bit longer for the Sixers fans to realize, but hey, we moved on and we're better off for Nick Nurse being here. So I'm excited for Nurse. He's a fantastic coach.
It's the Philly mentality of, all right, Brett Brown, that was adorable during the process. He destroyed us. He couldn't make adjustments in the playoffs. Anybody's got to be better. Well, we tried anybody. So, yes, Nick Nurse is the guy that I wanted all along, and I will defend him just because I wanted him. So let's see what happens. But before we get into that, we can't start a podcast without talking about the bearded one. James Harden, it was announced this week that the Clippers offered the Sixers a pick swap and an unprotected pick, I think 2029, and a bunch of salary filler. The Sixers said, no way, we need Terrence Mann. Guys, help me understand. I've watched the Clippers play. I've watched Terrence Mann play. I've not watched him a ton. I mean, what does he average? 8 points a game, a couple assists. He plays a little bit of defense. Is it worth hanging on, waiting for this guy? What am I missing here?
Well, I can go first. And
please.
And what I've seen from Terrence Mann was exactly what you said, Mike. It's there's nothing there that stands out. And offensively, he's a very mediocre player. Defensively, he doesn't really bring a lot of impact. Below level disruptor. Yeah, I mean, he's a good point of attack screen defender, but again, not somebody who you should hinge an entire trade and potential season on. I just think that from what the Sixers need moving forward more than anything is that they need to be prioritizing cap space. They need to be prioritizing draft assets. And I would just do whatever it takes to bleed the Clippers dry of everything in terms of cap space and picks. I think Morey is trending towards that, but I think big picture, zooming out, like, they're not getting much of anything from Harden. And that is very disappointing because, I mean, he's still the guy who was a high-level player last year. I mean, obviously came up short in the postseason, but overall, I think that, the market speaks volumes to what they think Harden is today, which is just no longer an impact player. I mean, that's basically what I see.
Yeah, Chris, it feels like the equivalent of, we have a deal done, but we're not going to do it unless you throw in, Furkan Korkmaz or something. We're not going to do that. Like, what am I missing here?
For me, like, just circling back to Terrence Mann, like, he screams like a Daryl Morey kind of guy.
He's not a high volume scorer by any means, but there is some defense, ball handling, playmaking to Terrence Mann's game that I think he probably likes. The fit next to Embiid and Maxey on like a high energy bench unit is definitely there. He signed for $22 million for just 2 more years. And when he did start for LA last year, he shot 43% from 3. He had a +7 net. So there are some things, but he is 27 years old. Like, people talk about Terrence Mann like he's this upcoming young prospect. He's like, I remember at the start of this whole thing, we were talking about Terrence Mann. Now it's like we're overhyping this guy to like a vast degree. Circling back to Harden, it's always been in the Sixers' interest to just punt this thing and wait. There's no need to rush it. He's already at camp. Hopefully this was James Harden's reality check that there really isn't a market for this guy. It is in James Harden's best interest to suit him up, play well, and get moved probably by the trade deadline. The amount of offers available, like, it seems very complex to get a third team in there, get picks, while Daryl Morey doesn't want to add extra salary. He doesn't want to screw up his 2024 offseason. Whether you're for it or not, it is what it is. There's not a lot of options for the Sixers. But I think when you look at the grand scheme of things, the Sixers could be in transition mode sooner than later. Daryl Morey knows that they need first-round picks. Daryl Morey knows that there will be a playoff team possibly come trade deadline that will probably offer something in that line. So it's always been in the Sixers' interest to just kind of wait and see.
Well, he turned down a first-round pick and a pick swap for a guy that was actually they probably thought was walking to Houston. So, at this point, I don't know. I think back to Tiago. You're going to hate this part. I think back to what Doc Rivers said on the Bill Simmons podcast when Bill Simmons asked him who he thinks is the perfect fit with Embiid, and he said, if you have Maxey at the point and you have a bigger guard at the 2, and I think Mann is 6'5", not huge, but bigger than Maxey, then maybe that's it. So maybe that's a discussion he and Morey have had in the past. So maybe that just fits for him. Of course, Tyrese Halliburton would have been better, but that's beside the point. I'm contractually obligated to take a victory lap on that one on every single podcast. But I think for me, I think the bottom line is they've got to get another team interested. So if it's just right now the Clippers bidding against themselves, I don't think it's going to get much further than this. If Miami wants to do this, if Toronto wants to do this, or Chicago, or you name it, I just don't know who that is. Can you guys see another team getting involved in this?
I don't, at least not at the moment. And I'll go one step further because there's this narrative that, and Chris mentioned in a little bit that, well, Harden showed up, the Sixers now have time, everything's back to normal. And like, that's not true. Like, showing up to practice and clocking in is one thing. Digging your heels in a regular season game in the fourth quarter and playing defense and being engaged is another thing. And we've seen historically that what Harden wants, Harden generally tends to get. So I see this thing being going more along the lines of like, yeah, I'll suit up because I have to, and I don't want to get fined and I don't want to jeopardize my future. But if you're going to ask me to trap the ball handler in the corner, you're going to ask me to move without the ball, guess what, man? Go ask the next guy because I'm not doing that. And that's not an environment that's suitable for players to develop, for the Sixers to win. So, yeah, I do think Moore is a little bit on the clock because, I mean, Hart has made it clear he doesn't want to play for this team. And when you add on the fact that Philly fans, they're a different breed, man. They know what they're dealing with. This makes it for a very, very rough environment for Harden, for the Sixers of a team. So I think the Sixers are a little bit under the gun to pull the trigger. But like you said, Mike, I don't see that team right now.
The good news for me, though, is Nick Nurse is a guy that won't stand for any of that BS. Like, he's a guy that will call James Harden out unlike a Brett Brown, unlike a Doc who's catered to his players a little too much. So I do think Nurse will shut that down immediately if we see any of that.
So you don't think Nick Nurse is going to call Harden a treasure or anything like that? So shout out, what's up, Mitch? Thanks for watching. Everybody else for hanging in. Tiago, I love what you said, that Harden's used to getting what he wants. I mean, I picture Harden as that. All right, I'm sure this is politically correct somewhere, but whatever. I picture Harden as that super hot girl in high school, and then she goes to college and, just doesn't look good. When she comes back after like year 3, shows up at the bar with all the high school guys expecting to pick the one she wants, and they're all looking at her like, it's not there anymore. That's kind of what I'm seeing right now.
I mean,
I'm sure I'm going to get in trouble for that one.
If you want to go back to the trade deadline or whatever, year and a half ago, I mean, you had to squint a little bit to see this, superstar player that Daryl Morey promised. So I'm with you, Mike. Like, they've kind of had these blinders for Harden for a very long time. And I think that they're paying the price a little bit of not looking outside the box, right? You mentioned Tyrese Halliburton, De'Aaron Fox. Yeah, you needed to expand your vision to see players, all-star players down the line. But, yeah, I mean, the love affair with Harden eventually put him in this position, which is not great right now.
It just usually doesn't work out getting 30-something-year-old guards. Just saying. Okay, let's transition. I'm tired of him already. So let's move on. I'm really tired of him, actually. So Sixers played the Celtics. Couple of guys that stood out to me. Obviously, the thing we all remember is Jaden Springer going at Tatum at the rim. What did you guys think of Maxey? What did you think of? I mean, obviously, he scored a bunch of points and was fast and, looks like the best athlete on the court. Can he run the team?
You want to take it, Tiago?
Wow, you guys don't jump in at once on that one.
I think the silence speaks volumes.
Wow.
I like. All right, I'll go. I like the aggressiveness we saw. That was nice. He was assertive from the jump. He looked, like he was playing 100%, 110% speed, and that's what you want to see. So there were signs there. He had hit a nice fadeaway jumper. I liked him being in attack mode, attacking the rim. No Robert Williams down there. It's kind of nice, right? So that's a takeaway. So we saw some Tyrese Maxey B-ball Paul screens. That was kind of fun to watch. We saw that fadeaway jumper he hit over Derek White was pretty nice. But to answer your question, can he take the reins? That is the question of this entire season. I don't know.
Well, did you see any evidence that he's made progress is probably a better question.
I did. I saw something that I think he even talked about working on in the offseason, which is changing speeds. If you go back and look at some of his film from the Boston game, I thought he did a really good job of slowing down, setting up defenders, and then using his trademark speed to get by guys. That's generally something like we didn't see much of Maxey when he was on the ball last year. I mean, he just seems like a guy who's going to get the ball and attack the rim at all costs. So I thought that was very positive. He made a really good bounce pass to a cutting Springer, made another phenomenal read out of in the corner, a cross-court pass out of the pick and roll, found, I think it was House in the corner, I believe. So to answer your question, like, excuse me, yeah, I do think there's hints there of a guy who's made progress. Ultimately, it's going to come down to what does your partnership with Embiid looks like on the court. I was looking at some numbers. Him and Embiid averaged 1.08 points out of pick and roll last year when Maxey was initiating, and that's just not good enough. Like, we look at, I don't know what Harden and Embiid numbers are like, but it's substantially higher. So he's got to figure out a way to engage Embiid as a creator, to get Embiid the ball where Embiid likes the ball, get him open low. Because I think if that partnership develops over time, yes, I think he's got a path towards being a creator for Philly. But again, it's going to rely on a team effort. I think Chris talked about, right, guys setting screens. I mean, I saw Tobias Harris try to set a screen to Maxey half-heartedly, just, whiffing it like, it's nobody's, like, it's beyond him to do that job. That shit's got to stop, man. Like this offense is predicated on guys setting screens, moving with intent, with purpose. So he's going to rely on the team effort to get him those looks. And I'm hoping through coaching they will get there. But I think to answer your original question, Mike, it's got to start. They got to find that partnership moving forward.
You guys think Embiid will be traded at the deadline? Maybe. Thank you, Dan. No. So in any event, getting back to the show, I don't want to disrespect Dan, but I don't think there's any shot. Getting back to the show here, I think the one thing Harden did do is he showed the way how to be successful with Embiid. He showed, the Sixers 2 years ago couldn't make an entry pass 3 years ago. So he showed him how to get the ball, where he wants the ball, how to do that. Harden did a great job of getting it, running that pick and pop, a little bit of the pick and roll. I mean, the pick and roll was good, but Embiid preferred to pop. There was a lot they could do. I've got to think Maxey learned something from that. You think, Chris? Do you think it's something that he can translate?
That's the question, right? That's a huge question because, the pick and pop, the two-man game of Embiid and Harden was fantastic. But that's when it all stopped in the playoffs. They went heavy ISO again. Their transition offense, which was the best in the league last year, they were the second worst team in the playoffs in transition offense. It just turned into Doc Rivers again, heavy ISO. And when the Sixers did,
the playoffs is a half-court game usually.
Yeah,
right?
but
I can't kill Doc totally on that. He didn't adjust to it.
Well, what we saw with the Sixers offense was when Boston took away the pick and roll, the Sixers didn't have any counter. The Sixers had no answer for how to adjust. And that's what I'm hoping for with Nick Nurse, throwing out there, like Tiago said, more cutting to the basket, more transition offense. There are definitely, I kind of like seeing Oubre and Beverly, and they did seem a little more athletic, which was nice to see in that Celtics game. So for me, I want to see Nick Nurse make this Sixers offense a little more unpredictable, a little more harder to defend. And when you talk about getting Embiid the ball more effectively, it starts at the elbow. I think we're going to see more Joel Embiid at the elbow, more playmaking from Joel Embiid, not at the three-point line routinely, getting him the ball in better spots, closer to around the rim. I think didn't we hear that Joel Embiid was working on a floater or something along those lines this offseason? That's the stuff I want to see. And that's the thing
too, I think they said.
Yeah, so I'm looking to see Joel Embiid just hanging around the rim a little bit more, but also less usage on offense and playmaking for others with those screens, like Tiago said, more cutting to the basket, more of that just moving the ball around rather than roll the ball to Harden or Embiid and clear out and just dribble it for 18 seconds.
See, that's kind of why I really want to see Norman Powell in the trade if they're going to be able to make that happen. I think he's athletic. He can defend. He can shoot. I think he's the perfect fit. I mean, especially, he's better. I think he's much better fit than Tobias for sure. What do you think, Tiago? I know you're a big Tobias fan, but
love Tobias the person. Tobias the player is about to give me a heart attack at age 41. So love Norman Powell from a fit standpoint. I think one of the things that he brings that the Sixers lack tremendously in this offense is a motion shooter. You talk about guys that come off screens, right? Don't hesitate. The Sixers really don't have that on the roster. Korkmaz isn't really that player. Oubre's a little bit, but he's not hyper efficient. I think, obviously envision JJ Redick, right? Powell is not JJ Redick, but similar type of sets where you can attract an extra defender, hit a diving screener and Embiid perhaps. I think Powell would be a great fit. But again, I think the money, I don't know what his money looks like, but it sounds like there's money that goes into next year. And I'm not sure that Morey wants to commit to that. I don't know.
All right. So that's the argument that everyone makes when I bring this up, but he's got to take some money. I mean, what are we expecting for next year? So say you have 2 max slots. unless he knows something on a wink-wink deal of being able to recruit somebody to ask out for a trade, you're looking at OG Anunoby, Paul George, Pascal Siakam, and Kawhi. Well, Kawhi Leonard's never coming here. Paul George is never leaving LA. Plus, those guys are old and broken down, and I don't want them. I like OG Anunoby and Pascal, but do I like them enough to tank this year and wait for them? No. They're not LeBron James of 5-10 years ago. What are we doing? What do you what are we doing here?
I think we're praying that Tyrese Maxey takes another step. That's like the clearest path for the Sixers raising the bar, raising the ceiling of becoming a contender again, because I don't think they're contenders right now. But it's all on Tyrese Maxey and Nick Nurse unlocking him as a playmaker, as a shot creator, fourth quarter bucket getter. That's what we're hoping for. And is there a chance he develops into that? I think so. But there's also a chance this whole thing crashes and burns. No doubt. I think there's probably a better chance he is what he is. Like, he's a combo guard, a spark plug, microwave scorer type of player than him developing into this, floor general playmaking point guard. We saw some. We also need to see him take another step as a defender. He's been working on that all off season. That's definitely a little way for him to get better.
I actually thought he did a decent job in the playoffs defensively.
Yeah,
I thought he made a few strides.
Yeah, there are flashes.
I think Morty wants to keep all options on the table, right? So if Maxey develops into a number 2 star, which isn't there's a path there. I don't consider it to be very high, but there's a path there. At that point, can you win with, say, like a Zach LaVine type complementary piece, right? And I don't know the answer to that. But then, say Luka somehow becomes available. Like, he gets tired of Dallas. Kyrie drives him freaking nuts. I want out of Dallas. All right, at that point, can you package Maxey and some other stuff picks for a guy like Luka or something like that? I'm just throwing names on the wall, but what I'm trying to get to is like, that he wants to keep options on the table, right? Maxey obviously being the linchpin of how they proceed, because he's shown that number 2 level talent. So, I think to answer your question, Mike, I don't think there is a definitive answer to where they're going to go next. But one thing I don't think he wants to do is, pay Norman Powell for 2 more years. I don't know. That's my take on it, but time will tell, man. I think the first 40 games this year are going to be massive. I think that's going to really tell where this team is headed for not only the rest of this year, but next season and beyond.
That kind of goes to your point, Thiago, about Daryl Morey needing to make a move with James Harden now rather than wait. Because you look at Maxey, he averaged nearly 25 points per game in the 13 games without Harden last year. Is that the plan? Could that be a plan, like a sign and trade with Maxey, like pump him up, usage rate skyrockets for Tyrese Maxey, and he's like now one of the most up and coming young guards in the NBA, and then you trade him for Luka. I don't know.
I think this is all a pipe dream.
Absolutely.
I hope we have a better plan than this. I want to get into the Nick Nurse effect, and I know that Tiago's got some good examples for us as things to look for. I want to do just a quick commercial break here in that, it's a public service announcement, but my daughter Jordan in 2016 was diagnosed with an inoperable brain tumor. The tumor has shrunk, but it'll never go away. We've got to go every year to get a scan and hope for the best. And she's doing amazing. She's on an academic scholarship, full ride to Notre Dame. That's why I'm wearing this ugly shirt. And, she's doing great things. But one of the things that she decided to do was give back. After 16 months of chemotherapy and seeing kids going through this horrible, horrible, horrible disease and having to deal with that horrible treatment, she created a charity and our whole family's leading into it. It's called Small Miracles, where we give back to kids at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. And last year we donated 500 gift bags to the boys and girls going through treatment, mostly the teens. And, we've done iPads and gift experiences and all kinds of great things. But what I'm asking you to do is go on the website and check it out. It's smallmiracle.inc.org. And you can see Jordan's journey, see what we've done, see what we're trying to do. If you want to contribute or be a part of it, check it out. smallmiracle.inc.org. Guys, thanks for the minute. Getting back to it. So I know nobody is more excited to tell me that when I watch a game, what I'm going to look for in the difference between what Nick Nurse is going to bring to the table and watching Doc just clap and scream, go, 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 which I think was his go-to. Tiago, what should we get ready for here? Yeah.
we're gonna miss this on the sideline.
And then my other favorite, wait a minute. It's a timeout, national TV game. Microphone's coming? Okay. Come on, man. Do we want it? Okay. Go ahead.
Come on, guys. Come on, guys.
Come on, guys. Gotta move. Gotta move.
What should you look for, man? You should look for coaching. I think the level of laziness that crept in the Sixers under Doc Rivers is unprecedented. I mean, this guy made it abundantly clear the moment he joined Philly that he was not about coaching. He was about the seat. He was about taking the reins to the playoffs and then praying that, the star power would take over. When you watch the Sixers for a half of basketball against the Celtics, especially defensively, right? Defensively is where I really like to see the coaching points take over. It's night and day, man. I mean, it's even only one practice, a couple practice, half of basketball preseason. You can already see guys engaged, trapping, rotating. Guys know where to go. Guys know where to rotate. How many times the Sixers last year, right? They trapped at half court or some half-assed coaching point to, send an extra guy over, and nobody rotated. There was a wide open layup down the middle of the lane. Like under Nurse, you're going to see a high level of intensity defensively, and guys know where to be. And I think that alone, with the talent they have defensively, they have some high-level defenders, right? Embiid, Reed, Melton, Springer. That alone, to me, is worth 1 to maybe 2 extra wins.
Will James Harden play defense while he's
well? That's the thing.
Oh.
The thing. And it goes back to my original point that I talk about Harden, right?
My goal in life is to see him traded to Miami because I'm dying to see him in the culture. But do you think he'll do anything? Just
to answer your question, no, I don't. I think that's where things are going to get messy because he's not going to be engaged. So until they figured out that situation, it can be messy. But I'm talking clean slate. They send him out, they get some stuff in return, and now you're playing Springer, now you're playing Melton, you're playing Reed, you're playing Oubre. That looks like some high-level defensive teams that can make an impact with the way that Nurse likes to preach. So, yeah, we'll wait and see. But I'm excited on the defensive end where you can already see the coaching points take over against Boston.
All right, so last thing here. First of all, thank you guys for being on the podcast because I've been in a funk all day because of that damn Phillies game last night. I'm still not over it. So it's been good to talk about something different. Okay, it is October 10th at 6:33 p.m. Give me a prediction. When will Harden be gone? Where will he go? And yeah, that's it. When and where?
Who goes first?
Go,
Whoever wants to. Go ahead, Chris.
He's not going until the trade deadline.
Oh,
yeah, they're gonna wait on this, whether he's playing or not playing. Morey's gonna wait on this one until he gets. No, again, nobody values Harden more than Daryl Morey, and he's gonna try and take everything he can out of this James Harden trade value for what it is, for better or worse. I will say. He goes to a playoff team. I don't know what it could be.
I guess
I'm not good with the
field. I think that's the way we would need to do this. It's Clippers or the field.
I'll say the field. Miami looks like a good bet. I'll say the field.
Yeah, I'll take Tyler Hero and Caleb Martin and call it a night. Morey probably won't want Tyler Hero because he actually makes money, but I think his contract's fairly reasonable. Tiago, what do you think?
Yeah, I think he's going to the Clippers. I think when the season starts and the Clippers realize they have a team a little bit perhaps below the Nuggets and the Lakers, especially in a town with LeBron and AD, right? That speaks volumes, man. You got an owner who's hungry to take down that Laker dynasty and perhaps bring a title to LA. I'm not saying Harden can be that guy, but I just think there's a lot of pressure on the Clippers to get a deal done as well. I know they're betting against themselves and all that stuff, but ultimately the West is stacked. And yes, James Harden can absolutely drive the needle up the Clippers. So I do think it will get done with LA. And be ready because the Sixers aren't getting much in return, man. So
well, all right, so okay, so I'm gonna pin you down. When do you think it happens, and what do you think they actually get? Because I think I have a prediction on that, but I'm gonna take yours.
So I do think it happens around the trade deadline. I think you got to kind of wait and see things play out a little bit this season. If like Kawhi and Paul George break their leg in the first couple of weeks of the year, which you seem to do every year apparently, then it becomes kind of a new point. But what they get in return, I mean, you gotta get Robert Covington in return. That's an expired. That's already written in the stars. He's
can't wait to boo him again.
Sixers fans who hated the process are gonna love it. And there's a guy who the Clippers have who I really like. I would prioritize him over Terrence Mann and whatever other slop that they're trying to throw at the Sixers, which is Brandon Boston Jr. I actually think that kid can play a little bit. He got a little bit of a run with the Clippers when guys were out, and he had like a 30-point game against the Celtics. Young, high pedigree kid out of Kentucky who just under Calipari just folded, which a lot of prospects tend to do. But I think he's got some juice, and he's, again, rookie contract, not making a lot of money. I would prioritize him over Terrence Mann. So I hope they get him in return and throw in some picks and whatever.
All right, Chris, I'm making my call. I want you to document this part of it. Ready?
Ready.
Because we're going to come back, and I'm going to do another victory lap. So here's what's going to happen. The trade's going to be done within the next 3 weeks. Nick Nurse isn't going to want to have this guy hanging around. The Clippers want to do something. It's going to be annoying for everybody. So within the next 3 weeks, he's gone. Here's what they're going to do. Let's go back to Jahlil Okafor. I take you back to wanting to make a trade that looks better than it actually is. So they're going to get there first. They're going to get a pick swap. But what they're going to do is there's going to be 2 more first-round picks that won't be first-round picks. There's going to be some crazy-ass thing behind it that are going to convey to second-round picks. So the actual deal is going to look like – it's going to be like an NFL signing that looks like $300 million, which is really like $28 million. So what it's going to be, it's going to look like 3 first-round picks and a pick swap. But it's really going to be 1 first-round pick, 1 pick swap, and eventually 2 second-round picks and slot within 3 weeks. What do you think? I think it's done. I think they're working on it right now because what's going on is Adam Silver is sick of it. He's going to get them both on the phone and be like, all right, Morey, you need to save face. We're going to make this look good. Clippers, you got to put something in there because this guy is at least a decent name for the NBA. We got to get him in LA anyway. That's what's going to happen.
I just had that flashback of the Sixers trading Nerlens Noel for a first-round pick. You remember that?
Yeah.
It's not a first-round pick.
Same thing. Same thing. Although the Markelle Fultz did convey to Tyrese Maxey.
Yes.
How about that? So, all right. I want you to mark that. That's it. So you two say trade deadline. I say within the next 3 weeks, and I think there's going to be some window dressing phony slop attached to it.
You know it.
All right. Guys, it's been a lot of fun. Tiago, you're coming back, right? We're going to have you on some more?
Absolutely. Just say when. I'm excited for the year.
All right. Tiago is definitely a fan favorite. Mr. Dives, Mr. Crockpot, where can everybody follow you?
Mr. Crackpot on Twitter. Find me here with my man Mike. Party on Broads taking a break this week with the Phillies and things like that, rescheduling. Tonight we are doing Birds of the Round Table, talking Eagle versus Jets. And I will also be doing a BGN radio show tonight on week 7 of college football. And then that's about it.
Tiago, where can everybody follow you?
You guys can follow me at Tiago PHL on Twitter. I also do some writing for Edge of Philly Sports. So one of those 2 venues. But if you're going to go on Twitter and follow me, I got no time for you screaming disrespect and all that stuff. So keep it clean, keep it classy, and we'll have fun talking about Sixers stuff or any type of NBA stuff. So.
That's what you should. That's what your name should be, Tiago. Keep it classy.
Yeah.
The one thing I have not heard yet, and I just want real quick, Tiago, like, what's your quick take on the Boston trade for Drew? Like, what's your in projection for the Celtics? Because Tiago and the Celtics and the Sixers go hand in hand.
That's a great question, Chris. To be honest with you, there's nothing I've seen from Drew Holiday in the postseason to lead me to believe that they can take a step forward. When you watch the Celtics, even in that one half of basketball against the Sixers, it's the same stuff, man. It's Jason Tatum, pull-up jumpers. It's Jason Tatum, fade away, driving and stuff. They got to figure that out, man, because if the plan is to bring Drew Holiday to play off the ball, that move does nothing for me. It does absolutely nothing for me. So I think they have a vision to get this guy to run the offense over the 2 guys they have out there, but I just don't see Tatum and Brown buying in. And if they don't, it's the same stuff for the Celtics.
I just think it's one less guy for Tatum and Brown to fight with to get shots, where Marcus Smart kept taking them.
That's true.
He's still a good defender, and he's a better guy, so I think they'll like him. But in any event, Tiago, thank you again. My name is Mike Small. You can follow the podcast on the Edge of Philly Sports and at Real Mike Small on X, formerly known as Twitter. Thanks, everybody, for joining the Kill Me Smalls podcast. We will be back next week. Take care, everybody.